2006. I'll still take a GTR. Hey guys, I just want to start off by apologizing for the really shaky camera footage. This was my first time ever using a prime lens and it had no image stabilization, so sorry about that. We're here at the Nismo factory, boys. Look at that, that's shit. Is that R390? I was taking a look at all the race cars and I turned to look inside the workshop to see what was going on, and BAM! There was. I saw the R34 GTR Z Tune and I started freaking out because this is essentially the unicorn of all GTRs, and that's because it's the ultimate GTR. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the Z Tune and what makes it so special. Let's begin with the appearance and compare it to a regular degle R34 for reference. Visually, it has a much more wider and aggressive front end. As you can see, the fenders have this distinct box shape, and if you follow this body line, you can see where it starts to square off going towards the mirror. And believe it or not, it's wider by function. Yeah, the function being so they could fit a fat ass tire on the front. Continuing with the appearance, the bumper and hood are unique to this car. With all the inlets and outlets, it gives it that aggressive stance I was talking about. All Z Tune cars came in this color, unoriginally named Z Tune Silver. Yeah, I know, the name is lame, but I mean, look at the color, man. Sick! I'm pretty sure Z Tune started the trend with the Nismo logo on the intercooler, as well as the famous LMGT4 wheels that a lot of Nissan owners actually run. A lot of R34 owners try to get their cars to look like a Z Tune, and I mean, I can't blame them because it looks more aggressive, but it still retains that factory look, which personally, that's what I like. The difference though is on the real Z Tune, the whole front end is actually carbon, and you might be saying, oh, maybe they did get those parts. Yeah, maybe, but I got a shot of the front end of this car for sale, and let me tell you, you gotta pay that Nismo tax. And I'll show you all about the Nismo tax later on. So going back to the carbon, what's crazy is that they didn't just put carbon where you could see it. The underside right behind the splitter was actually all carbon. So you may be saying then it's just an R34 with a body kit and a paint job. Well, no, not exactly. Let me tell you the backstory. So the backstory is that Nismo's 20th anniversary was coming up, and Nissan gave the Omori Factory, this very factory, the green light to go ahead and make the ultimate GTR. No expense spared. And they did exactly that. Can you imagine Nissan came back and was pissed? And yeah, he said no expense spared, but come on, man. You gotta be reasonable. Anyway, this car was loaded with bespoke Nismo parts, which they had to design from scratch, test, and develop. The whole car was reimagined and completely thought over because this wasn't a regular R34, which was a road car that you could track. This was a race car that you can drive on the road. Yeah, you like that line, huh? Everything produced on this car was no compromises. It had to give the most strength and rigidity, but be the lightest it could be. So that meant that they had to use materials like carbon on the skid plate because steel was too heavy and less rigid than carbon. And the whole exhaust system and strut bar was actually made of titanium, which is lightweight and strong. A little side story, as you'll see later on, I get to hold the same strut bar that's in this car, and I ended up bumping it because it was so light. I mean, good thing titanium is strong because that thing was pretty expensive. It's that Nismo tax I was talking about. And all this redesigning was done in the chase of being a road legal race car. Let's give Nismo a round of applause, please. Let's take it to the race aspects of this car. Let's talk about the engine, the Z1. So the Z1 RB26 in this car was built from everything that Nismo had in their knowledge from their racing endeavors like Le Mans or the GT Racing series. So being based on an RB26, they revised the engine for all its shortcomings when you start to add power to them. So that meant that they started with a bore, increasing the overall displacement to 2.8 liters. In addition, they strengthened the block and added some upgraded ball bearing turbos. So Nismo took all that and put it into a development car and went racing. The benchmark was that the car should be able to race 24 hours reliably. So after that experiment, they actually came back and the engine had to be revised. So they made a second revision of them. And that engine is called the Z2. And the Z2 motor was actually what they put into all the production models of the car. So what kind of power are we talking about here? Well, Nismo said you could take your gentleman's agreement and frig right off because it made 500 horsepower and was reliable enough to do 24 hours of racing. Let's give Nismo a round of applause, please. So the cars were now ready to be built and Nismo bought back 18 low mileage cars from their customers and converted them to Z Tunes. And by the way, apparently they left one car Midnight Purple 3. That's because it's Midnight Purple 3. It's like the legendary tier of paint jobs. Let's give Nismo a round of applause. So all of these things considered, what do you think was a good price for the car in 2005? 50, 70,000? I mean, it's a Nissan, right? No, $150,000. And that's about $200,000 when you adjust it for inflation. I mean, it's not that bad because they're now selling for anywhere $500,000 and up. So thanks for listening to me blabber about the Z Tune. Now back to the video. So as far as the factory goes, I mean, it's really cool to be able to see the cars parked there and be able to see what the factory is actually like. Now you're not allowed in the work area because I guess for liability reasons, but still it's awesome to be able to actually check out the cars and to be able to see inside. Here, I gotta wear white gloves for this. There's a titanium strip over here. My god, that's light. Jesus Christ. The welds on this are crazy. We got a little bit of the burning here. You can see the bluish burns here. This is crazy light. But it probably cost like that for me. It cost $2,000. Cost $2,000 for this US. Jeez. And that's when the gloves come off. Alright, so I just saw this igniter here and it is $560 US about. So I just replaced my whole ignition system to RA coil packs and it gets rid of this unreliable thing for less than that. I paid 600 Canadian dollars, and that came with the harness that clips right into the factory harness. That's crazy, and that doesn't include the whole coil packs. The coil packs are like another 137. So I found this air oil separator. This is a common bit on GTRs. Look at the price difference. It's actually more expensive at the Omori Factory. That's that Nismo tax I'm talking about. Extortion. Ooh, NSX. I'll still take a GTR. Alright, so I'm back from Japan. And there you go. Installed.